When it comes to the harsh realities of life itself, it's important that we learn our history. I learned from the movie Night in the Museum that the more you know history, the better prepared you will be for life. Now fitting for this review, this is a DVD game about history that may just well be useful in getting kids to become smarter about the historic past. I first heard about this game from the preview section of the Madagascar Animal Trivia DVD game, along with most of the others that were shown there. Because I have been lacking in my history knowledge lately, I tend to forget things that are not that memorable for me to remember rather quickly. I had to get this game off of Amazon, and my dad and I have played it for 2 days so far. And it has Monty Python member John Cleese there as well, so that's a plus. But does the game work well enough as a game, or are we better off becoming smarter elsewhere? Let's just get through this, because I live in my father's basement, and I'm banned from South Park right now for less than 5 months for referencing it too much. You know what I say? Screw that! I'm going home! Let's talk about the Time Troopers DVD game. Now, if you've seen my review of the Madagascar Animal Trivia DVD game, you might get the idea of how this plays. But for those of you who didn't, I'll have to go over everything again while talking about some of the new stuff here as well. The controls are the same simple ones from before. Up, down, left, right, enter, and the menu button to take you to a new question if you find one you already answered. While we're on the subject of questions, there are over 1,700 of them and 300 video clips about historic moments that occurred prior to the game's release. These video clips feature historic moments and reenactments from the History Channel. Anyway, there's also apparently a remote captions option that controls the gameplay and puts the correct answers when said. Some of the questions are timed, by the way, so watch out. You can play individually or as a team. Each player is represented by one of the red, yellow, green, and blue colors. Each player's rank is determined by how old he or she is. Cadet is for 6 to 9 years old. Captain is for everyone 10 to 13, and the commander is for ages 14 to 100. In the options menu, the dynamic leveler can make further questions harder or easier depending on if you get any right or wrong. And the time limit option can limit the game's time to 10, 20, or 30 minutes, and whoever's the furthest in when the time runs out will win. Side note, a 4-player game individually might last more than an hour or so. You might want to keep that in mind just in case you're playing in that mode. Now, with all that out of the way, let's finally talk about how the game works. John Cleese's Special Agent Wormlord is a rogue member of the British intelligence agency IM6 and made a time interference technology and took it underground to escape the authorities. The purpose of this thing is to send players called Time Troopers back in time to fix what's wrong with the past in order to improve the future. To do this, you need to know the past, or in other words, be the first player to pass Wormlord's test of time by answering questions to reach the center of the screen board to win. There are 12 tiles on said screen board. If the game is a tie, you will be invited to try again. The types of questions that will be asked are multiple choice and side scrollers, which are the same thing except the latter involves answers moving from left to right, and you need to pick the right answer before that happens. Open response and trooper dispatches, which are the same answer out loud questions that are presented differently. For real questions, which are true and false questions. Wormholes, which are a set of 3 questions with 2 answers, and you move back 1 or ahead 0, 1, or 2 tiles depending on how correctly you answer them. And anagrams, which involves figuring out the scrambled words or phrases before they unscramble themselves, and you move ahead 0, 1, or 2 tiles depending on how fast you guessed it correctly or not. Every now and then, when you answer a question, there will be a factoid that gives you an extra fact about the subject matter you just answered a question about. And then there will also be a special video card that will influence the outcome of your turn, those being double or nothing, which will move you ahead 2 tiles if you get its questions right, and fate, which I'll talk about later. You know, I think I spoke more than I should. It doesn't matter. I better get ready to talk even more now in the next couple sections. Bummer. Good! Okay, let's get the obvious out of the way first. This game is a giant history lesson disguised as a fun DVD game. and the fact that anyone of any age can play it just makes it even better. It's so much of a brainy game to get people prepared for life up ahead that it's worth having family discussions about after every time you play. I myself can easily forget things like history, but I at least have the Tuttle Twins books to help me better. I don't know. I think that John Cleese's humor in this game can be funny with silly costumes and antics and a keen wit and antics. I think there was even a subtle fart joke with him as well. I'm not sure. Even like that there is a choice to play competitively or cooperatively, because not everyone is competitive / cooperative when it comes to playing games. It's fair for everyone and I like it. Bad. Now there might be some answers to questions in this game that might catch you off guard or you disagree with, but I'll let you find out for yourselves on that alone, because I vaguely remember that happening during me and my dad's playthrough. Also, the advertisement for this game on the Madagascar DVD game says that John Cleese's agent Warlord is this game's host. Don't believe that false advertising, as the real host of Time Troopers is none other than Agent in Training Braxton, played by Emma Taylor Isherwood. As for Warlord, he's pretty much there for comic relief, maybe providing a small history fact, and randomly moving players one space forward or back at any point during the game via fate cards. The last one I just mentioned is what I dread most whenever I play this, because it may be just me and my dad, but more often than not, Warlord will send us back in space, thus kind of screwing over our plans to winning. I know that Warlord is an eccentric host and all that, but if he really needs help fixing time itself, he could at least know better and show some mercy on evenly balanced where we move on the screen board. Or better yet, don't interfere at all and let us help you. Or even better, he could just move us up a space all the time. Just saying. Another thing I should mention is that unlike the Madagascar DVD game, you actually do have to pay attention to the video clips that are shown to you, because once you are taken to the questions that await you, you can't watch again unless you come across it again by some luck. Why? We don't always have the same high attention spans to absorb everything like a sponge, especially kids, you know. So with all that finally taken care of, Time Troopers DVD game is a fun game that is sure to make you smarter about whatever history lesson it teaches you. I highly recommend giving it a shot for those who want to spend some quality time with their family for a while. Oh, and here's one more thing I should mention before I sign off. This DVD comes with a second bonus disc, but I don't think you should worry too much about it, as it only contains some behind the scenes of John Cleese stuff, along with special offers from this time when this game comes out. So take that for what it's worth. So with that spoken out to you, I'm going to give this game 5 fingers out of 5. Alright folks, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and or whatever you want to do. I don't care. I'm the Purple Mario, and F YouTube for disabling dislikes. I mean, how are we going to listen to constructive criticism now?